Hello everyone and welcome to my Beyond the Gates CBS Update 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Some alliances make perfect sense the moment they happen. And then there are the ones that make everyone stop, stare, and immediately ask the same question: what exactly is going on here? That is exactly the energy surrounding Leslie and Vanessa this week on Beyond the Gates. Because if there is one woman Fairmont Crest trusts the least, it is Leslie. And if there is one woman currently standing at an emotional crossroads, it is Vanessa. Put those two together, and suddenly this isn't just a casual conversation. It feels like the beginning of something much bigger. And honestly, that may be exactly what makes it dangerous. Because sometimes the most dramatic shift in a soap doesn't come from a screaming match. It comes from two people quietly understanding each other. That kind of connection can change everything. But before we get to Leslie and Vanessa, we need to talk about Danny and Andre because Babygate is still causing chaos, and somehow one accidental word has become the emotional center of half the town. Bill calling Danny baby should have been a forgettable moment. Awkward, yes. Embarrassing, definitely, but temporary. Instead, it turned into emotional evidence, because people never react to words alone. They react to what those words suggest. Instinct matters. And when someone says something without thinking, everyone around them starts wondering what truth slipped out before the filter could catch it. That's why Haley reacted so strongly. That's why Andre confronted Bill. And now that's why Danny is confronting Andre. Because while everyone else is focused on Bill's slip, Danny is focused on something else entirely. Why Andre felt the need to handle it himself. That matters, because there is a very thin line between protection and possession. Andre probably believes he was defending his marriage. From his perspective, Bill crossed a boundary, and he simply reminded him where the line was. Simple, clean, done. But Danny may not see it that way. She may see insecurity. She may see a husband who heard one word and immediately assumed emotional betrayal instead of trusting her. And Danny is not the kind of woman who tolerates being treated like territory. She does not need a man to claim her. She needs a man who trusts her enough not to. That's a much harder standard, because confidence is quiet. Insecurity is loud. Andre's confrontation may have sounded like strength, but to Danny, it might feel like doubt. And if Bill added fuel by suggesting Andre was simply insecure, that makes things worse. Because now Danny has to decide whether her husband acted from love or fear. That answer changes everything. The real confrontation here isn't about Bill. It's about trust. And trust, once questioned, never returns exactly the same. At the same time, Chelsea turning down Danny's offer creates another emotional fracture inside the same family. And honestly, rejection from your child hurts in a completely different way. Romantic disappointment bruises the heart. Family rejection hits the identity. Danny probably thought she was helping, supporting, offering opportunity. Maybe she imagined it as love in action. Chelsea may have heard something else. Pressure, expectation. A subtle message that what she's building on her own still isn't enough. That's the problem between strong mothers and ambitious daughters. Love gets translated through pride. Danny expresses care by opening doors. Chelsea wants the satisfaction of proving she can open them herself. Neither woman is wrong, but both walk away feeling misunderstood. Chelsea Cat is her world right now, her dream, her proof that she can create something without leaning on the Dupree name to carry her. She doesn't want success that feels borrowed. She wants ownership. And Danny, who has spent her life believing support is the purest form of love, may not immediately understand that. That emotional gap is real. Because sometimes, I'm trying to help and you don't believe in me, sound exactly the same depending on who is listening. Now let's get to the headline that should make everyone nervous: Leslie and Vanessa bond. And honestly, this is not a friendship people should celebrate too quickly. Because Leslie is not someone who simply stumbles into connection. She studies people. She listens carefully. She notices emotional weak spots. She understands loneliness. And most importantly, she knows exactly how to position herself as the person who gets it. That is a skill. And right now, Vanessa is vulnerable to it. Because Vanessa is exhausted. She feels judged. Nicole questions Joey. People around her keep acting like her relationship is a mistake, waiting to happen. She feels like everyone has an opinion about her life except the one person actually living it her. That isolation matters. People become emotionally open when they feel misunderstood. That's when someone like Leslie becomes powerful. Not because she arrives as a villain. She arrives as relief. She listens. She validates. She says the words nobody else is saying. I understand why you made that choice. That can be intoxicating, especially when your best friend keeps sounding more like a critic than a safe place. Vanessa may not be looking for an alliance. She may simply be looking for peace. But peace offered by the wrong person can become a very expensive comfort. And Leslie? She thrives in emotional gray areas. She knows how to turn sympathy into access. She knows how to make herself necessary. So when these two bond, the real question isn't whether they like each other. It's what each woman needs from the other. Vanessa may need validation. Leslie may need proximity. That is a dangerous combination, especially with Joey somewhere in the middle. Because let's be honest, Joey is likely part of this, either directly or indirectly. Vanessa's entire emotional landscape right now is tied to him. Nicole's distrust, social judgment, questions about her future, everything keeps circling back to Joey. And Leslie has her own reasons for staying close to powerful men and complicated situations. So if Joey is the invisible center of this bond, then this conversation may be less about friendship and more about positioning. That's how soap alliances work. That begin with coffee, that they end with consequences. Meanwhile, Leslie also faces backlash, and honestly, she earned most of it. Fairmont Crest does not exactly hand out forgiveness easily, and Leslie has built a reputation strong enough to enter a room before she does. People expect manipulation. They expect drama. They expect self-interest. And when a person becomes a symbol of distrust, even their honest moments get questioned. That's where Leslie lives now. She created much of it herself. But here's what makes her interesting: people like Leslie are rarely just chaos for chaos' sake. There is usually survival underneath it. A history. A pattern learned somewhere long before Fairmont Crest ever knew her name. That doesn't excuse behavior, but it explains emotional architecture. People who constantly manipulate often learned early that safety required control. That trust was expensive. That softness had consequences. So yes, Leslie creates problems, but she also reads like someone who believes vulnerability is a luxury she cannot afford. That makes her dangerous, and strangely human. Which is why her bonding with Vanessa feels so compelling. Because for one moment, maybe both women stop performing. Maybe it's real. Maybe that's the scary part. Now let's move to Smitty and Jacob, because once again these two are operating like men who believe stress itself counts as a strategy. Smitty has a new lead. That should be good news. It should feel like progress. Instead, it feels like another step toward collapse. Because every new clue in this plasma ring storyline also creates new exposure. And right now, exposure is the last thing they need. Jacob is already stretched thin. He's balancing undercover pressure, Naomi's growing fear, physical risk, and the constant reality that one wrong move could destroy everything. He does not need more complications. But complications are all this storyline produces. Smitty's problem is urgency. He believes movement equals control. That if they just keep pushing, keep searching, keep acting, they can stay ahead of the truth. Sometimes urgency helps. Sometimes it creates panic disguised as progress. And panic is expensive, especially when Nicole is already suspicious. That matters more than they realize, because Nicole is not someone you want quietly asking questions. She notices patterns. She notices timing. She notices when stories sound technically correct but emotionally wrong. That kind of intelligence is dangerous to bad cover stories. If she keeps pulling threads, Smitty and Jacob may not have enough lies left to hold things together. And honestly, they are not subtle. Their secret meetings feel about as discreet as fireworks. At this point, half the town probably suspects something. They just haven't connected the right dots yet. That's the kind of suspense that makes this storyline work. Not whether the truth exists, but who reaches it first. Then there's Derek and Ashley, and this situation continues getting more emotionally complicated. Because Derek may be right, which is incredibly inconvenient. Ashley hears criticism. He thinks he's delivering a warning. She hears jealousy. He feels urgency. And Grayson sits right in the center of that conflict like a walking question mark. The issue is that Grayson doesn't look like someone dangerous. He looks like someone complicated. That's harder. People leave obvious red flags. They stay for men who seem wounded, men who feel like puzzles, men who inspire the sentence, "You just don't know him like I do." Ashley believes there's more to him. She sees potential. Derek sees consequences. The tragedy is that warnings from exes almost never land cleanly, even if they are completely true, because history contaminates credibility. Ashley may assume Derek just hates losing. He may genuinely be trying to protect her. Both things can even exist at once. That's what makes it painful. Love and ego are rarely cleanly separated. And Ashley? She may be so focused on defending Grayson that she misses the deeper question. Why does love with him require this much explanation? That question matters. A lot. Because peace should not feel like a suspicious luxury. It should feel normal. If every day requires defending your relationship, eventually exhaustion becomes louder than romance. That realization may come late, but it comes. Always. And honestly, that's the theme of this entire week. Delayed realizations. Danny realizing trust may be more fragile than she thought. Chelsea realizing independence sometimes disappoints the people who love you most. Vanessa realizing validation can come from dangerous places. Leslie realizing reputation follows faster than reinvention. Jacob realizing undercover work always collects a personal price. Ashley realizing chemistry and safety are not the same thing. Everyone is learning something. The problem is timing. Lessons always arrive after consequences have already started. That's Fairmont Crest. Nobody gets clarity before the damage, only after. And maybe that's why viewers stay so invested, because underneath the glamour and scandal, these stories feel familiar. Who hasn't questioned someone's intentions? Who hasn't mistaken control for care? Who hasn't defended a relationship longer than they should have? Who hasn't accepted comfort from the wrong person simply because it arrived at the right moment? That's why these plots work. They are dramatic versions of ordinary emotional truths. That's the secret. The stakes are bigger. The feelings are real. So now the biggest question becomes, is Leslie truly becoming an unexpected ally for Vanessa, or is Vanessa walking directly into a connection that will cost her much more than she realizes? And when Danny looks Andre in the eye and asks whether his actions came from love or insecurity, will his answer save their marriage, or expose a crack that was already there long before Bill ever said, "Baby"? Nicole and Vanessa, the friendship that almost broke after all the tension, after all the side eyes, after all the silent judgment. Vanessa finally asked the question nobody wanted to hear. Was their friendship over? That moment alone, it stopped everything. Because these two women, they've been through too much to let one fight destroy it all. Nicole looked at her best friend and said no, absolutely not. One argument would never erase years of love, loyalty, and history. And just like that, Vanessa broke. Relief hit her like a wave. She pulled Nicole into a hug, not a polite hug, a real one. The kind that says, "I thought I lost you." For a moment, everything felt okay again. But only for a moment. Because then, the name came up. Joey. And suddenly the air changed. Nicole tried to be calm, tried to sound supportive, tried very hard not to sound like she was already judging. She failed. Because Nicole knows danger when she sees it. And Joey? He feels like danger. She made Vanessa promise if she ever feels unsafe, if she ever feels trapped, if something feels wrong, she runs. Not later, not tomorrow, immediately, to Nicole, to someone she trusts, anywhere but deeper into trouble. Vanessa promised. And Nicole said there would be no judgment. Sure, but we all know there would absolutely be judgment. Danny, Bill, and that one word nobody forgot. Meanwhile, across town, the ghost of one tiny word was still haunting everyone. Baby! That accidental slip from Bill to Danny. Yeah, nobody forgot, especially not Haley. Danny sat down with Bill while waiting for Pamela, and naturally, she brought it up. She asked how Haley reacted. Bill, with the confidence of a man who is absolutely wrong, said, "I would know if my wife was upset." "Sir, would you?" Because based on literally everything, probably not. Still, Bill brushed it off, and then reminded Danny that Andre had also called him out. Apparently, nobody in Fairmont Crest was letting Babygate go. Not even close. Then Pamela arrived, Danny's work wife, chaos coordinator, and accidental wingwoman, and suddenly there was champagne involved. Because of course there was. As Danny and Bill sipped and laughed, the conversation shifted to Naomi, Madison's case, and Chelsea Cat. Danny had what she believed was a genius idea featuring Chelsea Cat bags in her runway show, fashion, visibility, cross-promotion, perfect. Except Bill didn't look convinced. Which means one thing. That idea is definitely going to cause drama later. Vernon's secret fear now. Let's talk about the moment that truly worried everyone. Because while Anita was focused on finishing one of her final chemo treatments, someone else was quietly falling apart. Vernon. For weeks he's been strong, supportive, the rock, the protector, the man holding everyone together. But even rocks crack, and Vernon finally admitted something terrifying. He's scared. Not for Anita, for himself. At the hospital, he made a private appointment with Madison. Not for his wife, for him. And suddenly, everything changed. Memory lapses, forgetfulness, strange little moments he can't explain. At first, Madison tried to reassure him. Maybe it was exhaustion, stress, caregiver burnout. That would make sense, but wouldn't it? But Vernon wasn't convinced. And honestly, neither are we. Because in soaps when someone says, it's probably nothing, it is never nothing. He asked for tests, quietly, privately, and like every Dupree before him he made one thing very clear. This stays secret. No family, no panic, no drama, just answers. But let's be honest, secrets like this never stay buried. Never. Kat decides to play nice. Sort of elsewhere, Kat decided to be generous. Dangerous, I know. She found Isaiah sitting alone at Orphe Jean's waiting for Eva, and instead of causing immediate destruction, she sat down, smiled, and offered company. She even made a promise. No trash-talking Eva, a shocking development. Honestly, someone should have checked the weather, because clearly something unnatural was happening. The two of them laughed, talked, actually enjoyed themselves. And then Eva walked in, and saw it. Kat, laughing, with her man. You could practically hear the internal screaming. Eva tried to stay calm. Kat turned on the fake sweetness. Pleasantries were exchanged, smiles were fake, and the tension, delicious. Eventually, Kat left to meet Chelsea, but not before successfully planting just enough discomfort. Mission accomplished. Later, Kat admitted the truth. Yes, she absolutely flirted with Isaiah just to get under Eva's skin. Petty? Extremely. Effective? Also, yes. Meanwhile, Isaiah had to reassure Eva that she had nothing to worry about. No competition, no threat, no cat problem. But Eva, she knows her sister, and she knows better. Jacob returns, and Naomi's worst fear comes true, and then the emotional gut punch of the episode. Naomi arrived at the motel expecting relief. She got terror instead, because Jacob was there. But not okay. Not even close. Bruised, beaten, clearly hurt. The second she saw him, her entire face changed. That kind of fear. It can't fake it, because this wasn't a bad day. This was proof. Proof that the danger she's been trying not to imagine is very real. Jacob tried to downplay it, tried to act like this was normal, part of the job, what they signed up for. But Naomi wasn't hearing it. She saw the bruises. She saw the risk. And suddenly this wasn't an undercover assignment. It was survival. She started asking questions. Too many questions. The kind no wife wants to ask. And before she could get answers, his phone buzzed. A text from Grayson. Urgent. They needed to meet. Immediately. And just like that, Jacob was gone again, walking back into danger, leaving Naomi standing there terrified, tearful, and completely powerless. That feeling, that's the worst part. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe my channel without missing any update.